About a month ago, I officially released the Mario Kart World Knockout Tour, a concept where I created 8 more Knockout Tour Rallies in Mario Kart World to help expand the mode. At the end of that video, I gave you all a challenge to make your own Knockout Rallies. And you guys took that challenge and ran away with it, creating over 100 Knockout Tour Rallies in the comments of that video alone. But I did my duty and looked through all the comments and suggestions and realized there were too many rallies I thought were interesting, really liked, or had to talk about for other reasons. So now, instead of making this a one and done video like I previously mentioned, I'm turning this into a brand new series of videos where I showcase and critique your custom Knockout Tour Rallies. Starting off with why this might have been a bad idea. Now, if you're not completely familiar with the original concept of this custom rally thing, let me give you a basic rundown. In my original video, I asked all of you to submit knockout rally concepts that could be added to Mario Kart World, and gave you the option of using the rule set I came up with when I created my hypothetical rallies, or just winging it and doing what you wanted. In this installment, and hopefully future installments, I'll be reviewing about 20 of the over 100 submissions you guys sent in, detailing what I think of a rally, maybe sharing what I would change about it, if anything, and then ranking them on a simple tier list, ranging from S to F. Sadly, I won't be making full run-throughs of the rallies because, number one, that would make this video upwards of 2 hours long, and I'm running out of recording space on my computer. And number two, some of the routes are not as clearly defined as others. But I'll do my best to showcase the rallies and their intended paths one by one as I go over them. Now, do keep in mind 2 other things. Number one, all of these takes I have in your rallies are strictly my opinion. If I don't like your rally, it doesn't mean everyone on the internet hates it too. I also will try to be constructive as to exactly why I dislike your rally, or why I have a problem with it, instead of just going, this one sucks, this one sucks, this one sucks. And number two, if one of your rallies doesn't appear in this video, it's not because I don't like it, but it's because there were just so many suggestions that it was hard to narrow it down to just 20 to cover in this episode. If anything, your rally will probably be featured in a future installment of this series, and if it's not featured, it's because some of you submitted several rally concepts, and I only chose the ones that I thought were interesting enough to talk about. Also, speaking of those who submitted multiple rallies, you will not see more than 2 of your rallies per episode. And for anyone who wants to add to the list and comment their own rally ideas down below, do know that from now on, if you submit more than 2 rally ideas, your rallies have a much higher chance of not being included in future installments. So do keep that in mind before you send your comment that looks more like a shopping list than it does a suggestion. Alright, with all of that covered, it's time to dive into a selection of Knockout Tour Rallies you all designed. To start off, I want to first highlight 2 commenters specifically, who didn't suggest a specific rally per se, but did suggest rally concepts that I felt were good to start off this video with. The first of these suggestions comes from Rozer4Heros, also if I mispronounce any of your names, I apologize, who suggests taking all of the rallies and just reversing their direction to double the total count. Now, I don't hate this idea and I see its potential, but I also can identify some problems with it as well. The biggest issue with this comes from one point in 2 rallies, the Ice Rally and Moon Rally sections between Dandelion Depths and Cheap Cheap Falls. In the base game, this is the only time that 2 separate rallies have the same 2 tracks back to back in the same direction. However, in the actual game, both of these routes are almost entirely different. The Ice Rally takes you down the hill section, while the Moon Rally takes you down the riverways. Now, why is this important? Well, if we try to reverse the direction of these rallies, we start running into a small issue. Unless you want to go upstream on a river, which, let's be honest, nobody wants to do, the only logical paths between these 2 tracks are the path of the second race of a Leaf Grand Prix Cup or a boring highway. Now, this is just one example from 2 rallies, and only renders those 2 rallies from having a proper reverse configuration. And I will acknowledge that some rallies, like the Cloud Rally, work well with this idea in mind. But I don't see this as the easiest way to get double the amount of rallies in the game. It's a neat idea, but it needs refining to get anywhere higher than a B tier. The other suggestion, or should I say suggestions, comes from Sisma Winhai, who suggests 3 rally concepts. The first 2 are very self-explanatory. A custom rally where you can create your own route between 6 tracks, and a mystery rally that takes 6 random connected tracks and makes a rally on it. Honestly, I have no notes. Both of these concepts should have been in the game yesterday, as it opens up the mode to so much more variability. Both of these suggestions get an immediate S tier ranking. As for the third, they suggest a concept called the Outrun Rally, where the checkpoint gate is split into 2 or 3 mini gates, and whichever one the current leader drives through determines what the next route would be. Now, I mean this in no offense, Sisma, but I feel like you just copied this idea from Sonic Racing Crossworlds. As from what I gathered from seeing gameplay, having the leader choose what track you travel to is literally the main mechanic from that game. I don't necessarily hate the idea, as it opens up a new level of strategy to Knockout Tour, where the leader will want to pick the connection they feel most comfortable on, but it also feels like we're just stealing ideas from Sega. Again. Also, with regards to internet stability, there's a chance that the track chosen would look different on other people's screens, especially if the connection is unstable, which in Knockout Tour is always a possibility. So I don't think having the leader decide which track is next would work as fluently as you'd think it would. For that reason, I'm gonna have to knock this specific rally idea to the B tier. It's a good idea nonetheless, but I feel it needs refining and not to look like it's a blatant copy of Sega's idea if it was to be added. Now with those 2 concept ideas done, let's dive into actual full rally suggestions. To start off this showcase and ranking of viewer-submitted rallies, I want to highlight one submission in particular. In my original video, I said when designing your rallies, you could either use all the rules I use when making my rallies, or use whatever rules you could come up with. One of you, however, not only decided to use my rules, but go an extra step further, and found out that there was one additional rally path that could have been added alongside the 8 from the base game and the 8 from the Knockout Tour without having duplicate start-ending tracks or having any tracks appear in Knockout Rallies more than 4 times. That person is Mysterious11206, who created the Boo Rally, which for a reason you'll see in a bit, I'm referring to here as the Bone Rally, with a route that travels from Wario Shipyard to Sky High Sundae to Dandelion Depths to Boo Cinema to Acorn Heights, and finally ending at Dry Bones Burnout. Honestly, first off, massive props for somehow finding this route and constructing a rally with such a limited pool. And in testing to see how the rally could be completed, it's overall a pretty solid route. However, the main issue I could find was the route from Wario Shipyard to Dandelion Depths via Sky High Sundae. If it wasn't clear from my Knockout Tour, Sky High Sundae is not a great track to pass through. What's more is that there's no real easy way to get from the back entrance to the front entrance without some modifications to the track itself. I can sort of see a way if you go through the track in reverse and put a glider on the landing pad to get to the start-finish line and exit the track to the main entrance. But outside of that, there's no real way to make Sky High Sundae a checkpoint track without making said checkpoint be nowhere near the actual track or making these modifications. Plus, in traveling to Dandelion Depths, you can't take the normal Sky High Sundae intermission route, as then you'll have a case of doubling back on the same bit of track. But this is a more easy fix, as you just need to take an extra left on the ski slope to head to the path DK Pass takes to Dandelion Depths. Still though, even with these flaws, this is a pretty good rally idea, and I commend the effort to adhere to every rule I initially put in place. I'm gonna put this rally in the A tier. Next up is SM Pro, aka Jesus Follower's suggestion for a Boo Rally. I promise not every rally in this video is named the Boo Rally, which goes from Great Question Block Ruins to Peach Beach to Wario Shipyard to DK Pass to Dandelion Depths to end off at Boo Cinema. Honestly, I really like this rally's route. It combines 2 routes I already came up with while also ending on one of my favorite tracks in Boo Cinema. and plus it has the chance for unique routes that Knockout Rally Connections can be known for, so it kinda naturally fits right into the game. The only negative I see with this rally is that the route between checkpoints 1 and 2 mimics the route taken for the Spiny Rally. But outside of that, the Boo Rally is still a super strong concept that I could definitely see being added to the main game. On a side note, Boo Cinema was originally intended to be the ending track of my Coinbox Rally from the original Knockout Tour video before Toad's Factory was selected instead. So it gives me joy that someone decided to make a route from Great Question Block Ruins that properly ends at Boo Cinema. The Boo Rally gets the honor of the first viewer-submitted rally to go in the S tier. Honestly, great job. Next is a rally idea I'm kinda surprised I never thought about myself, that was suggested by Sergio Enrico Gavilarde 6816. Dubbed the Barrel Rally, the route fittingly begins at DK Spaceport, and has you start by gliding to Checkpoint 1 at Peach Stadium, before traveling to Moo Moo Meadows, Mario Circuit, and Dandelion Depths for checkpoints 2 through 4, which will then lead you to the destination track at the other Donkey Kong track at DK Summit. I'm gonna assume you meant DK Pass, because if not, then this rally is an F tier, as it requires crossing over to a different Mario Kart game. Jokes aside, this is a pretty neat idea for a rally to connect the two DK tracks, but my biggest concern lies with that first route to checkpoint number 1. Keep in mind, DK Spaceport to Peach Stadium is a 4-lap route, and one of only 3 in the game. Though I will say, gliding from the top can somewhat fix this problem if you angle the route correctly and make a turn modification, thus skipping Koopa Troopa Beach altogether. Then again, it seems clear that the intended route for racers past the Crown Bridge is to go through the center, so maybe this won't fix the issue as much as I think it would. In addition, Dandelion Depths is another questionable choice, simply because the checkpoint cannot be the main start-finish line without causing issues. And plus, your route from Mario Circuit to Dandelion Depths might be a bit messy, as both Moo Moo Meadows and Dandelion Depths use the Mario Circuit 3 entrance to the south of the track. There's still a way to make this work, it just needs workshopping and maybe a copy-paste from the Golden Rally. Other than those issues I see with the general rally route, this is still a pretty solid idea, and definitely with enough workshopping could be fun to play through. I'm gonna put it in the B tier for now. Now, when opening up suggestions to all of you in the comments, one thing I really didn't expect was the amount of people who wanted Shy Guy Bazaar's Palace route to be the destination track in a rally. In fact, 8 total suggestions, 9 if you count the person who suggested a change for one of my Knockout Rally routes, had Shy Guy Bazaar B as the destination track. So I've decided to go through a couple of these ideas you guys came up with to give this hidden track its time in the spotlight. We'll start with Nicola Show 1595's suggestion for the Elephant Fruit Rally. Starting at Faraway Oasis, you travel to Cheep Cheep Falls, Moo Moo Meadows, Choco Mountain, and Wario Stadium, before making your way to the back entrance of Shy Guy Bazaar and traveling through the B route for the final lap. This honestly is a pretty solid rally design. It follows a pretty linear route that isn't just straight lines, while also showing to be energetic and allow for a lot of comeback potential. You also have this cool section that goes through most of Wario Stadium to head to Shy Guy Bazaar B, which is pretty neat. Also, the rally icon makes sense. As described by Nicola Show, the rally starts at a track near wild elephants, and ends with a track with tamed elephants. And there is literally no other reason as to why the elephant fruit would perfectly fit the theme of this rally. Nope. No other reason at all. Anyway, this idea goes in S tier. It's super solid, and I could definitely see it in Knockout Tour. Well done. Next up is Switchgear 6519's rally suggestion I'll be dubbing here as the Super Crown Rally. Starting at Starview Peak, you head down to the boardwalk section of Boo Cinema and take a majority of Ghost Valley 3 and 1, before hitting an improvised checkpoint at the staircase or at Ghost Valley 3. From there, you'll travel to Mario Circuit and go through Mario Circuit 3 to make your way to Toad's Factory. But instead of entering the factory, you'll take the elevated pipe highway, which Switchgear points out is not traveled on in any intermissions across the entire game. It's the entrance to this highway where you'll find the next checkpoint before you make your way to the back entrance of Wario Stadium for checkpoint 4. Finally, after going through the main entrance, you'll take a series of turns and tunnels to hit the north entrance to Shy Guy Bazaar, and start the final lap on the B route. Now, I was skeptical about this rally path at first, but after testing it, I do see its potential. It provides a lot of unique paths you typically don't see in Grand Prix or in pre-existing Knockout Tours, and I do like that improvisation to add the Elevated Pipe Highway as a unique path around Toad's factory. If I had one critique, it's that it feels somewhat unnecessary to go through Mario Circuit 3. And plus, in your original description, you outlined going through the track backwards, which is not really possible. Instead, you'd have to go through Mario Circuit 3 forwards to exit through that track, similar in kind to the Heart Rally route. But other than that, this is a very solid rally route that, honestly, with slight modifications at Mario Circuit, would be an easy S tier. But because of its current layout and description, I'm going to put it in the A tier. Don't be upset at that though. You still did an excellent job, and if I were ranking the placements within these tiers, this would be the highest in the A tier, bar none. And the last of the Shy Guy Bazaar B rallies I'll cover in this video is Floofeton's suggestion for the Sun Rally. Starting at Desert Hills, you head to Whistle Stop Summit, Mario Bros. Circuit, Wario Stadium, and Airship Fortress, before hitting Shy Guy Bazaar B as the final destination. Now, Floofeton said they don't know how to go from Airship Fortress to Shy Guy Bazaar, but the solution is somewhat easy. Once you hit Airship Fortress, the easiest way is to board the airship and take an immediate left to head to this cannon, the same cannon used in the beginning of the Cloud Rally and on the Airship Fortress to Shy Guy Bazaar intermission. However, when I look at this route, that is far from what I would classify as the biggest question mark of the track, as my eyes look directly at the Desert Hills to Mario Bros. Circuit via Whistle Stop Summit route. If you take this route via the connector track variants, you'll notice that you enter Whistle Stop Summit the same way you exit the track when traveling to Mario Bros. Circuit. Thus, the only way to make this route possible would be either a double back, a separate checkpoint, or an alternate route, which requires you to go through Crown City to obtain. Every other connection has a possible route without a major double back, but this issue at Whistle Stop Summit is the biggest hurdle to cross over. Because of that, I sadly am going to knock this rally down to the B tier. It still is not terrible, but it needs a bit more time in the oven before I can call it a suitable rally for the game. Alright, you probably clicked on this video because of the one you saw in the thumbnail, so let's get it over with. Pixel Shifts suggested the Loop Rally, which starts at Dandelion Depths and travels to Cheep Cheep Falls, Peach Stadium, Moo Moo Meadows, and Mario Circuit before terminating at Dandelion Depths. Hence the name. Now, I am well aware that in your comment, you listed it as more of a gimmicky idea. But I'm gonna be honest, you have a solid basis here. There are some noticeable issues to bring up, however, such as the fact that Cheep Cheep Falls to Moo Moo Meadows via Peach Stadium would require a right turn that either doesn't exist or is a 90-degree turn that takes the elevated ramp up. And Moo Moo Meadows to Dandelion Depths via Mario Circuit would probably lead you through every iteration of Mario Circuit, similar in kind to the Barrel Rally I mentioned earlier. But outside of that, this is a decent idea here. If anything, the only changes I make would be to either reverse the direction or set the starting track to something different that would be easier to loop back into, as Dandelion Depths is an oddball pick to choose as the start and end track, and also you have a double back issue by going down the incline to Cheep Cheep Falls, then going back up said incline to start the final lap. But overall, this gimmick idea you had has potential. I'm gonna put it in the B tier for now. Speaking of gimmick ideas, Mr. James 246 also had a rally idea with a bit of a gimmick attached to it. Dubbed the Wonder Rally, the route begins with a full run-through of DK Spaceport before traveling to Koopa Troopa Beach and Peach Stadium. From the second checkpoint, the route goes through Moo Moo Meadows but doesn't have a checkpoint there. Instead, checkpoint 3 is at Choco Mountain and the 4th at Wario Stadium. Then you travel through the industrial canals to the final track at Airship Fortress, except instead of going the normal route, we instead turn into the outside of the airship to go through the intermission route from Shy Guy Bazaar to complete the rally. Now, I'll be honest, this rally seems solid if you don't include a lot of the added fluff. While it's cool your rally goes through all of DK Spaceport, it also makes the first section unfathomably long. You're looking at this route being as long, if not longer, than the Cherry Rally route between Peach Beach and Dino Dino Jungle. It's a neat spice of life, but I don't see it working the way you'd think it would. In addition, I think the detour through Moo Moo Meadows can be confusing to figure out from a coding perspective. There's a reason not a single rally goes through the main start-finish line of a track without including it in the rally's path. Sure, the rally has some strong points. That Airship Fortress change, I think, can work well if you place the item boxes on that stretch in good positions, but other than that, you're sadly looking at another B-tier rally just because of the issues toward the first half or so. Now for a much more simple rally idea with no real gimmicks attached. EVBoss317 suggests the Bubble Rally, which starts at Acorn Heights and travels to Boo Cinema, Mario Circuit, Moo Moo Meadows, and Dandelion Depths before terminating at Cheep Cheep Falls. While I can see some points where this rally intersects with pre-existing rallies, most notably sharing routes from the Heart Rally and Moon Rally, I actually don't hate this concept. The only things you need to figure out is where the checkpoints for Boo Cinema and Mario Circuit are. But for the former, that's easier to place as you have the benefit of the start-finish line being before a hypothetical turn to hit the highway for Mario Circuit. Overall, this is a solid basis for a rally that, if done right, can be a fun time to experience. So I'm gonna put it up in the S tier. Well done. So, in my original video, I specified that I made a rule for myself saying I didn't want any of my rallies to end at a section-based circuit, which seems to be something some of you decided to take as a challenge. Several of you decided to make the destination track in your rally a section-based circuit, or just one section of a section-based circuit. So let's see how you did. Starting off with Pixel Shifts, who suggested the short rally, which I'm dubbing the mini rally since it makes sense. Starting at Cheep Cheep Falls, you traveled to DK Pass, Dandelion Depths, Starview Peak, and Boo Cinema before hitting the destination track at Mario Circuit 1. Now this is a fine rally, however, we need to address the elephant in the room. Not that. The final lap around Mario Circuit 1. Keep in mind, Mario Circuit 1 is one of the shortest tracks in the game, only rivaled by Koopa Troopa Beach, so to have a rally end here feels kinda not right. Plus, depending on how fast the leader is, there might even be the chance first place finishes the rally before the fourth person even crosses the checkpoint to set the final four, so it's very much an awkward choice. I get it would be funny, but it's not an ideal ending track. I can't really complain about any other aspect of this rally though, as it all lines up pretty well. A good basis, but a weird ending that I don't think would logically work, so I'll put this in the A tier. Moving on to Infernatus' suggestion for the Boomerang Rally, which just like the earlier Boo Rally, I'm renaming to the Peach Rally. The route starts at Starview Peak, before traveling to Sky High Sundae, DK Pass, Salty Speedway, and Great Question Block Ruins, before terminating at Peach Beach and taking the Lap 1 route. Now, I've already discussed how Sky High Sundae is a problematic track for traveling through, so I'll save the commentary, but I want to mainly focus on the Great Question Block Ruins checkpoint. Infernatus suggests going the normal intermission route from Salty Speedway to Great Question Block Ruins, but then turning around before the lake to head under the rail bridge to Peach Beach. Well, on paper, this is a neat idea. In practice, this is that left turn they're supposedly talking about. As you can see, it's sharper than Faraway Oasis's last turn, and that's not ideal. There is a way to negate this though, and it's by taking the Salty Speedway intermission to Faraway Oasis before making some extra left turns to hit this stretch of the Great Question Block Ruins Lake instead, then turning left to go to the correct way to Peach Beach. So, fair enough, that's fixable. But then you got the ending track of Peach Beach Lap 1. Now, I hate to give a hot take, but the first lap of Peach Beach is not all that enticing. Now, I get it, nostalgia and whatnot, but it really isn't fit to be an ending track for a rally, as there's little excitement that can come from it in my opinion. But leaving personal feelings aside, you also risk that same problem the mini rally has, where first might be halfway to the finish line before fourth even starts the last lap, which can make this rally seem somewhat boring if not maintained well. For that reason, and everything else I mentioned, I'm sadly gonna have to put this rally in the C tier. There's ways to fix it, don't get me wrong, but the initial description you gave me just feels a little off to play through. To end off this section on section-based ending tracks, we'll look at Zakar Zero's Mini Mushroom Rally, which I'll refer to as the Hammer Rally. Starting at Mario's Circuit, you'll travel to Toad's Factory and Mario Bros. Circuit before having the entire second half of the rally take place on DK Spaceport. Now this is how you make a section track the ending portion, in my opinion, by making the laps of a track the checkpoints. The only question that has to be addressed, though, is where would you put those checkpoints on DK Spaceport? For the purposes of this demonstration, I put them at sections 1, 3, and 5, so each section on the track itself is 2 laps in length. But realistically, you could put them anywhere. Also, you need to consider that Mario Bros. Circuit to DK Spaceport is not a pre-existing intermission route. It exists in the opposite direction, though, but you still have to figure out the logistics of that. But outside of that, this isn't a bad rally idea to incorporate a section track into a knockout rally. I'm gonna put it in the A tier just because there's some questions surrounding it that I would need answered before I put it in the S tier. Alright, back to some normal rally ideas. Starting with Floofton's Mega Rally. Starting from Mario Bros. Circuit, you travel to Choco Mountain, Cheep Cheep Falls, Dandelion Depths, and Toad's Factory before ending the rally with a lap around Wario Stadium in reverse. Honestly, I really like this idea a lot. My initial concern with it only comes with that Toad's Factory to Wario Stadium reverse connection. For reference, the Toad's Factory to Wario Stadium intermission takes the industrial pipes, leading to a glider ramp to hit Wario Stadium in the correct direction. In order to do Wario Stadium in reverse, however, you need to hit the side entrance to the track. However, upon further investigation, there is a road connection from the industrial pipes to this side entrance. So whether you use this intermission route or use the highways and streets like in the aforementioned Super Crown Rally, you can easily hit Wario Stadium's reverse layout. Overall, a solid rally slot that adds some much needed spice to Knockout Tour ending tracks. I'm giving it an S tier. Next up is Madrosio's suggestion for the Boomerang Rally. Starting from Moo Moo Meadows, you'll travel to Cheep Cheep Falls, Dandelion Depths, Acorn Heights, and Toad's Factory, before finishing the rally at Bowser's Castle. Now, I hate to say it, but there's 2 glaring issues with this rally that both revolve around Toad's Factory. The route to Toad's Factory from Acorn Heights and the route from Toad's Factory to Bowser's Castle both take the 2 ramps leading to the side entrance to the track. And unfortunately, there's no easy way to get from one ramp to the other without crossing around it through water or taking an extremely tight turn. The only way I can see avoiding this issue is from Acorn Heights, you take this side route to pass alongside Mario's Circuit, so you instead hit the giant ramp into Toad's Factory, allowing you to get to the side entrance easier. But outside of that, I really don't see a feasible way. Outside of that glaring issue, this rally isn't terrible, and I actually like how it has the possibility of using the Dandelion Depths to Acorn Heights intermission that exclusively uses the Riverway. But because of Toad's Factory being the way that it is, I can't put this rally any higher than B tier. Our next suggestion comes from Hephaestus4112 called the Luma Rally, which comes with this free thesis essay attached to it. Okay, jokes aside, let's get into it. We start by gliding down from the Great Question Block ruins after describing the ancient text left on its blocks and trek west through the jungle until we cross checkpoint 1 at Dino Jungle. The checkpoint is on the lab's exit ramp, as we will go backwards through nearly the whole track to pick up a lab report missing from our library's records. At the first turn of the track, we will divert onto the Versus route to Koopa Troopa Beach, only to make a hairpin turn east onto the intermission route from Koopa Troopa Beach to Faraway Oasis. We'll hit checkpoint 2 at the 3-way junction, finding a lost journal detailing the ecology of a savanna in the grass. When we approach the main entrance to Faraway Oasis, we'll instead swerve left onto the paved road and trek north on our way to Cheep Cheep Falls. We leave the area via the Northeast Bridge after collecting a mythology book about the falls and go southbound on the highway. We then turn east to join the usual route from Cheep Cheep Falls to Wario Stadium. As we approach the ship comprising the track's hairpin, we'll detour right and reach checkpoint 4 on the sandbar on the left of turn number 3. We then bypass the aforementioned ship after collecting an old diary of an unlucky captain by heading north on the normal route to our final destination, the library at Starview Peak, where we'll take a victory lap after submitting our new entries to the library's collection. Okay, first off, if this was a narrative writing assignment, you get an easy A+, no doubt. However, I'm not your English teacher, and while this route makes sense in a story kind of way, there's some issues I have to highlight here. First of all, this intersection idea you have that goes from the Koopa Beach route from Dino Dino Jungle to Faraway Oasis is another pretty sharp turn. Not as sharp as other ideas, but still much sharper than I think would be ideal for a rally route. Also, maybe I'm just stupid, but I can't find this three-way junction you want the Faraway Oasis checkpoint to be at. I assume you mean this junction, but I can't really tell. Also, in regards to the sandbar at Wario Shipyard, I hate to break it to you, but this sandbar is hard off-road, which would not make it fun to traverse through unless you had a speed boost to help you. And even if you don't travel on this sandbar, you're talking about a 180-degree turn, and I've already mentioned in the Knockout Tour, I don't think having a sharp turn in water is a great idea. So overall, while this rally has a neat theme, and I especially love that Dino Dino Jungle idea once I figured it out in game, I think it needs a little bit of work to be an official rally. Your writing gets an S tier, but your rally, sadly, is going to be in the B tier. Alright, I put it off for long enough. Let's get into the big one. Without question, the #1 suggested idea in the comments of the original video, with an astounding 22 submissions, was a rally that included Rainbow Road. And honestly, I get it. Mario Kart World's Rainbow Road is unanimously agreed upon to be the most aesthetically pleasing track in the game and one of the best iterations of Rainbow Road in Mario Kart's history. So it seems criminal that it's not included in all of Knockout Tour. While I understand it's because all 8 Knockout Tour rallies are available from the start of the game, and Rainbow Road isn't, this does allow us to think of ways to bring Rainbow Road into Knockout Tour here today. So without further ado, let's dive into a handful of Rainbow Road rallies. Starting our Rainbow Road rally relay is a guy named Avon, who suggests the Green Star Rally. Starting at Crown City, you then travel through Peach Stadium to then hit all 4 sections of Rainbow Road, each acting as a checkpoint. Now, I don't necessarily hate this idea, but there's 2 things to address. One is for this specific rally, and the other is for a lot of you who submitted a Rainbow Road rally. Firstly, the only way realistically we can enter Rainbow Road right now is by traveling on the Peach Stadium to Rainbow Road intermission, which means traveling into Peach Stadium from the north to then travel south to the Rainbow Road gate. So if we start at Crown City, realistically we need to find a way to the north side of Peach Stadium. Thankfully, however, upon testing, this is possible with some side streets, so that's fine. But the second issue I need to bring up is making Rainbow Road's first section a checkpoint. Now, I don't know if you've all noticed, but every connecting route between the 2 tracks in every Knockout Tour is at least a 2-lap section, except for one route. Before I reveal which one it is, take a second and think of what, in your opinion, is the worst section between 2 tracks across all of Knockout Tour. Got the route in mind? Good. So let's see if it lines up. Are you thinking of the Cherry Rally route between Koopa Beach and DK Spaceport? Because to the surprise of literally nobody, this is the only time the route between 2 tracks in all of Knockout Tour is equivalent of exactly 1 section in an intermission track. So with that in mind, what makes you think having Peach Stadium be 1 checkpoint and the first section of Rainbow Road be another will be any different? Both involve going across water on these makeshift flotillas. The only difference is one has added glider ramps. Now, this doesn't mean this is a bad rally by any means, but I do think this section has to be addressed across any rally that does this. For now, though, this rally gets at least an A tier. It's a solid concept, and I do think it would be good. Next up is Nolene Stevenson's rally suggestion, which goes from Peach Stadium to Rainbow Road Section 1, to Rainbow Road Section 2, to Rainbow Road Section 3, to Rainbow Road Section 4, to Koopa Beach. Look, Nolene, I mean no offense, but your rally is literally the definition of this image. Why would you want to follow up this spectacle of a track that involves a true fun feeling and a huge level of enjoyment with a track that's universally hated in the community? And I say that as a fan of Koopa Troopa Beach for the sheer level of chaos it can provide in a 5-lap set. This might honestly be the first rally where making the Final Four isn't an accomplishment, and it's just better getting eliminated before the final checkpoint. Okay, rage dumping aside, when it comes to actual critiques, number one, unless a future update changes anything, there's currently no intermissions originating from Rainbow Road, so you'd have to take an improvised route and glide down from the track to hit Koopa Troopa Beach. Number two, you fall into the same issue with the aforementioned Mini and Peach rallies in that Koopa Troopa Beach is so short that you may finish the rally before 4th place starts their final lap. And number three, all of this would require the weirdest map configuration in history, especially with the fact that the Rainbow Road map itself doesn't show up until you're actually physically on Rainbow Road, meaning the map for the final checkpoint stretch would be split into two. So with all of that said, and including the point I just made about Rainbow Road Lap 1 being a checkpoint, I'm sorry, but your rally suggestion is the first one I have to put in the F tier. I sincerely hope this was just a troll suggestion and you wanted to rage bait me. And if so, congrats. It doesn't change your ranking. Okay, now after that nonsense, let's go over an actual rally idea. NASCAR Egger suggests the P-Switch Rally, which starts at Dino Dino Jungle and travels to Salty Salty Speedway, Faraway Oasis, Crown City, and Peach Stadium before finishing on Rainbow Road, either for just the first lap or the entire track. I'll admit that this rally is pretty interesting. I like the idea of going on the Crown Bridge before it turns into the Stargate to Rainbow Road, though I will admit, you really can't just have one lap of Rainbow Road be the ending track. If you're gonna have Rainbow Road be the ending track, you gotta go all the way, which means it's gonna be only 4 racers on a full run of Rainbow Road. Now, there are ways to negate this. The best example I can give is that you move the checkpoint back and then remove one of the earlier tracks and move its checkpoint to Rainbow Road instead. So there are ways of making this rally better in its current state. As for how it currently looks and the way you described it, I think this rally is best suited in the B tier. It's solid, but it needs adjustments to be considered a good fit for the game. And to finish up this episode's showcase of Rainbow Road rallies are 2 suggestions I think are good to group together that share a same name. We'll start with Pragmatic Antithesis' Rainbow Rally, which comprises of doing 3 full roundabouts of Rainbow Road, with sections 1 and 3 acting as the checkpoints. I hate to say this, but this is the easiest way to make a full, normal rules rally with no strings attached involving Rainbow Road. That being said, this would also come off as extremely repetitive and long. One full circuit on Rainbow Road already clocks in at about 4 minutes, so doing that 3 times gives you a 12-minute rally, easily the longest in the game. Need for an endurance test, no doubt, but might not be as optimal in practice, so I'll put it in the A tier. The second suggestion for a Rainbow Rally comes from Pokemichael, who suggests a different kind of rally, one that has a more unique rule set. Basically, Rainbow Road itself is turned into a knockout rally. Every section of Rainbow Road is a checkpoint, and at each checkpoint, 6 racers get eliminated instead of 4. On top of this, there's only 4 checkpoints, 1 for each section of Rainbow Road, meaning come the final lap, 6 total racers remain. This allows Rainbow Road to still retain the 1-circuit structure while also being playable in Knockout Tour. I actually really love this idea. It allows Rainbow Road to coexist with the pre-existing Knockout rallies, you don't need to make many major music modifications, and it feels fully natural for the game. Pokemichael, you might have just come up with the best way to have Rainbow Road be in Knockout Tour without shoehorning it into a new rally or doing multiple circuits around the track. Your Rainbow Road rally idea gets the honor of being the only one in this episode to hit the coveted S tier. Well done, my friend. Well done. So, what did you think? Did your rally idea get featured and resonate with me as well as you think it would? Well, good news is if your rally wasn't featured, this is far from the end. I've still got 80 or more so rallies you all submitted to cover, and maybe much more to come depending on how many you guys leave in the comments. And there's so many of your rallies I didn't get to here that I still want to cover. From rallies where you had me design the checkpoint tracks, to rallies using clever routes and themes, to even more rallies including Rainbow Road. There's still a lot left to go over. But that is going to do it for this first installment in this viewer-submitted rally series. I want to give a massive thank you to all of the commenters who submitted their rally ideas and helped not only make the specific video, but this new video series possible. And if you have a custom rally idea you want to possibly be featured in a future installment of the series, make sure you comment it down below. All I ask is that you include at minimum the starting and ending tracks and any checkpoint tracks you want to be on the route, unless you want me to decide that. I also ask that moving forward to not suggest more than 2 rallies per person, only because I already have so many videos worth of rallies to cover from the original video. If you do submit more than 2 rallies, I'm just gonna pick the 2 I like most. Sorry, not sorry. But that is gonna do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. My name has been Bowsy, and until we meet again, I look forward to your future rally ideas, and I hope you have yourselves a good one.